Hello, my name is Robert Schmid, also known as Mr. IoT. I am the Chief IoT Technologist for Deloitte with a deep passion for all things digital. This week on Coffee with Mr. IoT, I'm talking with George Yianni, the head of technology at Philips Hue, and we're going to go all into lighting and home and so forth. George, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much for having me. It's really good to be talking about lighting. I have a lot I can tell you.
You have a lot of lighting behind you. Where are you? This is like the coolest background we've had on a show in a long time.
Well, I felt like I shouldn't disappoint, right? So this is actually our lighting experience center that we have in the Netherlands, where we showcase our latest connected lighting technologies in like a real world environment. So now up above me is a whole collection of Hue bulbs inside some of the beautiful fixtures that we have in our portfolio.
So, Hue bulbs. I mean, I read a little bit about your career, and it's really fascinating. You talked about how you joined Philips because you were a software guy, and Philips is a hardware company. How does this reconcile? You have software, they have hardware, and then didn't you sort of invent the whole idea of smart lights?
Well, so I think it's a really interesting time that I joined the lighting industry. So I'd been doing software in some startups in the UK. And what I really missed was I wanted to, affect the physical world of what I was doing. And when the opportunity at Philips Lighting came along, it really seemed like a green field to do a lot of really cool innovation. So they had, a huge amount of technology, a huge amount of knowledge, but they were only just starting on their journey to make it smart. So I joined, and I had this kind of green field to start looking and innovating and inventing different ways in which you could make lighting connected and really create new value, really change the fundamental role of light. And that was really an appeal, right? There's a lot of industries where there's been a lot of technology innovation already happened. And in lighting, there was really the opportunity to take some of that and apply it in a totally new industry to really make fast progress.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. So give us the fast version of you started there and today, sort of like a fast pass. Give us the history. I'd love to hear how you started out with a dumb light bulb and what we have today. I have Philips Hue light bulbs at home. I'm actually going to have a question for you because I have a technical problem, but I will get to that later.
Okay, sure. So I think the reason we really started Philips Hue was born out of frustration, right? So the light bulb is kind of traditionally a low engagement product. If you ask most people when was the last time they thought about a light bulb in their home, right? They'd have probably told you the last time it broke and they had to find a similar one with the same light output and the same fitting to replace it. And that for me, having worked for a few years in the lighting industry, didn't gel. We were doing amazing things with lighting to transform the look and feel of spaces, to help buildings save huge amounts of energy, to help people heal faster in hospitals. And none of that amazing benefits of lighting was coming in towards consumers. So what we wanted to do was actually take some of these benefits that lighting can bring and make them easy for normal consumers to experience and understand in their own homes. So that was really our mission. Let's make lighting a high value category by making it easy for people to experience these added benefits that light can bring.
So I got to come back to something you just said. Have people heal faster. Are you telling me that, so the simple one, installing light bulbs, I'm assuming Hue light bulbs, when I install them, I'll save energy at home. Is that correct?
No, that's true. All the products we sell are 80% plus energy saving. So out of the box, you're saving energy.
Okay, I'll come back to this later because I have a question on that. But you said it heals people faster. So if I'm homesick, what is it going to heal faster? That just blew my mind.
No, so there was this really interesting study we actually did in hospitals. And what we actually found in this study is that if you look at the average recovery times of people on the south-facing side of the building versus the north-facing side of the building, recovery times were on average faster on the south-facing side. So what we did is we developed some lights and a proposition about having, let's say, daylight quality light, right, everywhere in the building to make sure you get this right dose of healthy daylight, which actually interacts with your brain chemistry. And yeah, it had a measurable effect on helping people recover faster off operations. And there's a lot of science in the effect that light has on our brain chemistry. It really has a profound impact on our circadian rhythm, on making us feel alert and awake, on helping us feel tired and ready for bed. And these are all things which we don't have in our homes really at the moment. A lot of people and a lot of issues are actually caused by people being under this same monotonous artificial light all day. It's not natural. We were born under the sun. We evolved under the sun, and our bodies expect that. And we can use things like Philips Hue to actually recreate those kind of effects inside our home and help us feel better in our own homes.
So I've never, so I moved from Austria to the States, or California for that matter, over 22 years ago. And I always jokingly say I miss the sun, and I would really be down when I wouldn't see any sun for 3 weeks in Vienna. And then I chuckle and move on from there. But you're telling me there's actual scientific evidence that the light has impact on your brain chemistry. This isn't just something I made up in my head.
No, there's real research that goes into this, and I mean it's really a problem, right? If you go to let's say the more northern countries, you go to Finland or somewhere, it's really a problem because there's such short hours of daylight in the winter that people don't get enough sunlight, and so they actually buy these special lights to help give them the right dose of light to actually help them maintain a good circadian rhythm, help them be able to sleep properly, and help them be healthy.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So I got to ask you, so I have Philips Hue. I told you this, right? I have it running at my house. Control it all through my Google Home device. So I say, hey, Google. Now, some devices are going to wake up around me. And then I say, turn on bedroom lights or something like this, right? But one of the things that I just have to think about, you talked about how the lighting affects me day in, day out. What I didn't see, is this because I didn't see it, or why doesn't the app tell me, hey, Robert, I would recommend these kind of scenes and this kind of setup for you because this is what happens around you? It seems to be very much focused on colors right now rather than giving me advice what I should use for my setup.
Yeah, so the approach we've taken in our app at the moment, and this is largely to help keep the story for the users when they first get into Connect Lighting simple, is we've actually created these things we call light recipes. So you've probably found those on your dashboards, right? And these light recipes are things that we have created as the optimal settings of light that have a certain effect on your body, right? So there's a light setting which helps you to relax and unwind. There's a light setting that helps you to concentrate. There's a light setting which reduces eye strain to help you read for longer. And there's a light setting to help you get an energy boost called Energize. And what we say and the way we talk about this is, okay, if you want to actually have that effect on your body, this is the kind of light you want to have. So we actually take the affecting our body's route towards exposing that functionality towards consumers, rather than just in the background supporting. And that's worked well for us. And we have quite some material, particularly on our website, kind of explaining the biological benefits the light can have. But we haven't kind of pushed all of that into the app because it's a bit overwhelming for people at the beginning, right? I mean, most people who buy our products, if they're really advanced, they've had a dimmer in their home before. You're putting a whole lot of new knobs to play with in turn, and we need to make that a gradual step-by-step journey. But it's a big focus of us to help people on that journey, because people who start with connected lighting, they want to do more, they want to learn new things they can do with it, and we need to facilitate that kind of journey of discovery.
Got it. Okay, so you're helping the journey. I get it. What's the scene that you have running behind you?
So what we have running behind,
disco scene or?
No, so this is actually a sequence of scenes. We have noticed that it's been slowly changing in the background. So we have a environment called Hue Labs, which is kind of our experimental playground to test things out with users. And there we have we call it a formula that's called a scene playlist, which lets you have a dynamic, slowly cycling between different settings. And so this is actually cycling between 4 of our default scenes that we offer to everyone inside the app. So this is cycling between Cherry Blossom, Arctic Aurora, and Savannah Sunset.
So when you talk about names, I got to ask probably the most obvious question you've been asked 1,000 times. Why Hue?
Yeah, so we went backwards and forwards trying to find a name that really kind of captured what we wanted to do. And in the end, what we settled on was to try and find a name that kind of gave Hue a personality, that kind of personified it. And the name Hue, when we first was suggested it, like really stuck. It has an association with lighting and color. You know, hues of color is a way of talking about specific shades of color. It's also a fun word because, you know, you can have little campaigns like, you know, I love Hue, I need Hue, Hue are my sunshine. So you can do some good word plays with it. So you kind of fell in love with it when we started playing around with all of these things, and the fit to the product fit really well.
So was it actually just the product name, or was it actually the name you used internally before too?
No, so internally it was not called Hue until quite late on in the process. And we went through a whole journey to try and find the perfect name, and Hue's the one that stuck.
Got it. Well, if you're just joining us now, I'm Robert Schmid, the Chief IoT Technologist for Deloitte, and you're watching Coffee with Mr. IoT. Today I'm talking to George Yianni, the Head of Technology at Philips Hue, and we are just going all deep into lighting, and not just geeking out on lighting, but actually learning all the science behind it, which is fascinating. So I got to ask you one last question on the scenes that's personally affecting me. Two questions. Why can't I change the scene through my voice when I talk to Google? And two, are we going to still have light switches actually down the road?
Okay, both good questions, So we've put a lot of effort inside, let's say, our experience, our mobile application, to help people make beautiful light settings for the rooms in their home, right? And we call these scenes. And like you've found yourself, we think one of the best ways of interacting with lighting in our home is to recall these scenes and transform the light effect and the experience in a whole room in one go. And you know, our goal is to make recalling and using these scenes as easy as possible. You know, we've done that via the mobile app, via, you know, widgets on your phone, via smartwatches, and we've also done that with some of our voice partners. Right, so we've actually made that possible via the Amazon Alexa, via Apple HomeKit, and that is something that we are working on and hope to solve your problem really soon on the Google side as well.
So just a little behind. Okay, that's fair.
Just a little behind. They launched a little bit later. We're still working on getting that fully out the door, but you won't have to wait too much longer.
Well, if you want a beta user, call me. I'll be happy to test it out.
All right, I'll bear that in mind. On the switches side, it's really interesting question, right? Because you know, when we first launched, right, you had no option of having smart switches in your home. Your only option to control these lights was either to, you know, power them off and basically make them dumb when they're off, or to use your smartphone. And we had, you know, a lot of our consumers that actually, you know, they made that behavioral switch to just using their smartphones all the time to control their lights. But for some people, that was, you know, a bit too much all at once, right? You know, taking your phone out of your pocket, unlocking it, loading the app, pressing the button, a little bit too much. And so that's why we actually followed up. One of our first follow-up products was actually the Hue Tab, which is a smart switch that we added to our portfolio. And people really love that. People really love the easy convenience of walking into a room and just hitting this thing with their hand and getting different light settings that they've, you know, created and discovered inside their app. So I actually think there is a role for smart switches going forward as well, in terms of an easy way to recall what you create and design inside mobile touch experiences. We can have a very rich user interface. And I think all of these touch points, right, whether it's a mobile app, whether it's voice, whether it's a smart switch, maybe whether it's sensors, so things change automatically, will coexist in different people's homes. Because ultimately, it's you know, it's up to the consumers to work out how they want to interact with their homes and how much control they want to keep. Right? So they will definitely keep a role, and that's why we have smart switches in our portfolio.
So George, question for you. I'm trying to take this now. We talked about lighting, which you've done an amazing job, and there's a lot out there. But I'm curious to take it a little outside lighting. Thomas Tipple, a friend of mine, and actually my ex-boss twice, he sent me a text over the weekend. He was with his daughter in their new apartment in New York, and he wanted to smartify his home. And he talked about lights. He talked about temperature. He talked about drapes. He talked about all of this stuff. And I know you're part of alliances where that combines it. But his question to me was, what shall I go? What shall I buy? I don't want these silos. I don't want a good lighting solution, and then I want a good heating solution, and I want a good drapes. You know, how can I get one thing that controls that? Where do you see that going? What are you doing with Philips? What can you tell us coming down the road? I know you just announced a new app, and you must have awesome ideas, and I hope some of them you can share with us.
Yeah, sure. So actually, I mean, there's actually a lot of options available to them at the moment, right? There's a lot of companies that are trying to solve that problem of having, you know, multiple device verticals inside their home, you know, operate nicely together. Now the approach that we've taken here is, you know, we are, you know, fundamentally a lighting company, right? We have been making lights for over 125 years as Philips, and that is our specialism. That is where the depth of our knowledge and experience and brand lies. And so that's what we want to focus on. So you know, our mission, you know, with Philips Hue is really to provide the best and richest lighting experiences inside your home. Now, we recognize that lighting does not exist in a vacuum. You know, there are many other smart products inside your home, and you need them to work well together, which is why we've chosen to make the Hue system open and partner with many people inside the space, so that consumers do just have this choice how they want these things to work together. You know, so that's why we were, you know, one of the launch products of Apple HomeKit, which is a framework to help coordinate these experiences. One of the first launch partners with Amazon Alexa that's trying to do the same things. Why we're integrated in, you know, Samsung SmartThings. Why we're working with Google on their whole smart home efforts. We really think that the best way to get these experiences into people's homes is to have the companies which are the experts in their fields driving and creating value in their use cases where they're experts, and then working together to create these cross experiences. And that's what's starting to happen, helped along by some of these big smart home platforms.
Got it. Thank you. I was trying to sort of see if I can get you to go for, maybe this isn't the topic for you, but I'm curious. I mean, if you think of it, lights are so prevalent and everywhere. Couldn't you even get smarter with lights? Couldn't they also have more compute embedded, sensors embedded that react to it? And so, like, you know, lighting becomes almost like ambiguous computing out there, where you have a whole lot of stuff happening. Is that an area where you...
Yeah. So I think this is definitely a very interesting area. If you have a think about lighting, it's actually probably the only product you have multiple light points in every single room of your house. There isn't another product that's so ubiquitous inside your home, right? So, you know, that can be a terrific platform for actually rolling out additional functionality and value. Now, the question is, you know, how should you actually do that, right? And I think one of the things to realize is, to a certain extent, we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves and confuse our consumers by doing too much all at once, right? I mean, today we're still trying to show people why they should have smart lights in their home for the lighting use cases. If we try and complicate that story by saying, oh, and it can also do all these other unrelated things, yeah? You know, are we doing justice to the proposition that we're really trying to sell and explain and make simple for consumers? So it's something that we're looking at. It's something that we may well do going forward in the future. But what we're focusing on now is really building the best possible lighting experiences. And today, we think if we were to bundle a lot of additional functionality into these light points, it would actually hamper our ability to deliver these great lighting experiences. And that will change over time as these kind of technologies become more normal. But at the moment, we feel it's a step too far.
The technology problem, this is a people change adoption problem that you have rather than a tech problem.
Exactly. I mean, you have to realize that still the majority of people in the world, right, you know, they use lighting for illumination and that's it. They use it to help them see. Yeah? And we're already telling people a story that now they can use lighting to decorate their homes. Now you can use lighting to help you feel and live more healthfully inside your homes. You can use lighting to help make your homes feel safer and more secure. I mean, this is already a very new and novel message that we're telling to people.
Understand. So if I want to, one of the things that probably many think, and I want to hear what you think about this, is that if I want to really make my home lighting smart, putting a Hue light bulb in every light is going to be expensive. But you're telling me that there's about 80% energy saving on each light bulb the moment I put a Hue light bulb in. When does that pay off?
So it really depends, right? So in the end, we have quite a portfolio of products. We sell our smart white dimmable light bulbs for $15 before rebates in the US. All right, so this is getting pretty close to the price of normal energy-saving lights. If you have a look and you're comparing it towards a traditional incandescent bulb, right? I mean, you are talking a few dollars per bulb per year that you're saving. So you will get a payback within the lifetime of these products. They also last a long time, right? So our products are designed to last for 15,000 hours, which with average uses is almost 15 years. Where if you compare that to a traditional bulb where it burns out every year, it's a very big difference. So we think there is a story to be told, for the value and energy saving. But the real reason you would have these products in your home is because you want the additional functionality, right? There are normal LED products you can have if energy is what you're after. We think there's a lot more value than just illumination we're bringing to the table. If you compare what you can do with our light bulbs in terms of deterring burglars from your home, helping you feel safe in your own home, and you compare that to a managed security system, obviously the functionality is different, but you're getting some of those benefits for a vastly lower price. If you're comparing our full color tunable bulbs to doing a redecoration inside your house, painting the walls different colors. Again, this is a radically cheaper option than doing these kind of home decorations, and now you have the ability to change the look and feel of your room multiple times a day. So it really depends what you compare it to.
Got it. So George, I want to switch. We have a few minutes left, and I'm always curious what people like you and I do. We work in this field of Internet of Things. What do you have at home? What do you use at home? What's the coolest device that you have at home? Tell us about it. And I'm always curious. I've asked you a bunch.
Sure. So I obviously have a lot of Hue lights at home, including some that I can't tell you about yet. I primarily interact with my home via voice, right? I have multiple systems because I'm always trying out different ones. They're in different parts of my home. I have Amazon. I have Google. I use Siri on my phone quite a lot to control that. So I use a lot of voice. I also have quite a few motion sensors, especially in the transitory areas. So the lights just come on automatically as I walk into these spaces. I also have some other things. I have a few homemade things, so I can actually also control my, let's say, garden sprinklers and watering system based on something I cobbled together via voice and via my Hue app. I also have a few of the Nest video camera products and smoke alarms. I have those in my home. I really like the kind of simplicity of those use cases. I also have it set up so that if my smoke alarms notice there's an emergency, all the lights in my home go red. The reason they go red is because red is the color which scatters least off the smoke, so you can actually see better through red light. So it's even a safety thing. It's never happened yet, but I'm sure I'll appreciate that if I ever need it. I'm sure there's a few other products I have. I haven't gone smart locks. I haven't gone smart thermostats. I haven't made that step yet. I just don't really see enough added value from it, I think. So I'm mainly restricted to cameras, smoke alarms, lights, and then sensors and control options.
Very cool. Very cool.
What about your home?
So I have Philips Hue light bulbs. I have a few outlets that I control, some for lights, some for other stuff. I have a smart thermostat, which that was actually the first thing I did because I didn't want to walk up and down to change my thermostat. And I have to say, I love the fact that I never have to go and say I'm home or not home. It knows what's going on.
Sure.
And it does this thing, which I think is sort of like, what I'm seeing is there's always the utilitarian value of something, which is I talked about. But then there's sort of like the cute thing that goes on. And I get a monthly email that tells me how much energy I saved. So there's some cuteness around this, and I like that a lot. So that's what I use today. And then I do everything with voice. So I try to do everything with voice. George, we are running out of time. I could talk with you another hour or two, and I loved everything you talked about. Anything else we didn't talk about? Anything you want to mention? Anything else?
So maybe like our last newest proposition, I think is good to talk about a bit. So you've been talking to various people in the smart home and IoT space. And I think it's pretty interesting that up till now, almost everything is really focused on kind of home automation, right? How do we control things in our homes together? And what we're trying to do with our latest step is actually link a smart home product towards what you do on home entertainment. And I think that's pretty exciting and interesting, because what we see is actually lighting. It's not just about controlling it; it's also about enhancing things you already do inside your home. And one of the things a lot of us do in our home is, play video games, watch TV, and consume media like that. And what we're trying to do with some of the new entertainment things that we're launching is really to make those experiences more immersive. So we have some partnerships that we've announced. We have some products coming out which are trying to solve that problem. So I recommend you give those a go when they come out as well.
Super excited, looking forward to it. George, it was great to have you. Thank you so much. Looks like our coffee break is coming to a close. And please join me again next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for another Coffee with Mr. IoT. And by the way, if you missed any part of today's conversation, there were lots of great tidbits. You can watch the episode again on my YouTube channel, as well as past episodes. And with that, happy Friday to everybody. Thank you, George.
Thanks. Bye.